Together here?
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Ms. Sanchez, second made by Mr. French. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We are back in session at 6:41. Next up on the agenda, we have inquiries and general comments. Mrs. Whitcamp, has anyone requested to speak?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and read our rules here. Please self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. You may be given a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. If needed to accommodate a large number of speakers and maintain a reasonable meeting schedule, the time limit for all speakers may be shortened. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not, but are expected to do so in a respectful manner. Please do not discuss any personnel matters, including those of a disciplinary nature, regarding any RISD employee. This should be discussed with the superintendent or with the employee's supervisor. Please be advised that the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. For the safety of yourself and others, signs and placards are not permitted in the boardroom. All right.
Okay, first of all, we have Diane Taylor.
I'll hold it. My name is Diane Taylor, and I am here to speak tonight as a former school board member. And to be specific, 1991, that was the year we named the school after an icon, Nancy Lopez. In the audience are some of the other board members that were on the school board at that time. I'd like to tell you something about Nancy Lopez. There's a lot of people here wants to speak, but I'll make mine brief and to the point. No other school in this district, a new school that was being built, has changed its name. That includes recently Del Norte, Mesa, and Washington Avenue. Nancy Lopez, at 12 years old, won the women's state of New Mexico's women golf tournament, 12 years old, and continued that for the next several years. As a middle school, she was able to play on high school. That's how good she was. We had to go to court for Nancy Lopez and any other girl to play girls golf in the state of New Mexico. It was not allowed. That was history. Because of Nancy Lopez, the state of New Mexico had a girls golf team. That's just, I want to tell each and every one of you, not just the board, history. That Nancy Lopez was never in trouble, a great student. She was a role model for others to follow, even adults, for adults to follow, not just kids. I want to beg you, do not change. Do not make fools of Roswell, New Mexico. Nancy Lopez is not known just in New Mexico, not just in the United States. She's known worldwide. I implore you, Google her. And she came out of Roswell, New Mexico, out of Roswell Independent School District. She made us proud. Do not tarnish her name. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Juan Oropesa.
Good evening. My name is Juan Oropesa, and I reside at 1307 East Tilden, just down the street where the new Nancy Lopez building is being built. But I'm here to express my sadness, anguish, and disappointment that the issue or the process of changing the name of Nancy Lopez to something else is on tonight's agenda. I stand before you knowing that you will not be able to answer any of my questions, but I'm still going to answer them for the sake of myself and the public. And I will draw my own conclusions. So, to start off with, who is behind the push for the name change? What is the motivation for the name change? In the last few years, if I'm not mistaken, the school district has changed, has had upgrades or built new facilities for some of the following schools: Pecos, Del Norte, Mesa, Missouri, El Capitan, to name a few. So why was a name change for any of these schools not suggested when they were being upgraded or replaced? Nancy Lopez Elementary School, as far as I know, is the only elementary school that is named after an individual who is an iconic, worldwide renowned professional that is well known for her accomplishments in her profession of golf, and who also rightfully serves as an excellent role model for our youth, particularly young females. In addition, she has hosted golf tournaments that have been benefited or have benefited different organizations such as AIM, Adventures in Movement. This organization helps mentally challenged, hearing impaired, visually impaired, disabled, and other children and adults with special needs. So I cannot help but to conclude that the individuals responsible for this action may have a personal vendetta, or a personal reason for disliking her, or a personal vendetta against her or her family. Or perhaps these individuals are not originally from Roswell and do not know the history of Nancy Lopez to be able to appreciate the pride and optimism she has infused in our community, especially our Hispanic community. It is mind-boggling to me that this board suddenly, after 34 years of naming Nancy Lopez School, is now implying, by having this issue on the agenda, that Nancy Lopez is not worthy of, or is no longer deemed to be a good role model for our kids. Let us not forget that 78% of the student population in our district is Hispanic, and Hispanic enrollment in Nancy Lopez is 89%. I would ask and encourage the board to vote against this issue. If you feel to need the need for a name change, pick another elementary school, but leave Nancy Lopez to remain as it is. And perhaps I can offer a suggestion. Maybe we can change
Your time.
Gutter High School to Amarante Fresques High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Tim Jennings.
Hi, glad to see all you all, glad you're here. Julie and I have known each other for a long time from the ranch, and great parents, were good. I'm here today to talk to you about Roswell, growing up in Roswell. And let me tell you about Nancy Lopez and Domingo and Mariana and her sister. They played golf as a family. And we didn't have a lot of Hispanics playing golf in Roswell when I grew up. We didn't have a lot. We had Jesse and Gilbert Lacan. What did they do? Where'd they learn to play golf? Cleaning golf clubs out at the Roswell Country Club. That's where they learned. Nancy and those kids and her parents, they learned that they played together as a family, along with Elsie and Louis Leba. Who were they? They were golfers. They owned the Green Lantern bar. I got their sign. I'm honored to have that sign, but I knew how precious it was because they all played golf together. And it was just, you can't believe, we didn't have Hispanics playing golf when I grew up. But we did after Nancy. When Nancy came along, she taught everybody how that women can play golf and play it well, and Hispanics can play it well. That's exactly what she did. And you look at her history, it's unbelievable. I mean, I have a brother won the city championship and country club championship, and there's a whole bunch of them. But we had Kathy Whitworth from Jowl. But nobody's ever done what Nancy Lopez did. I mean, she is a true American sports icon. And how could we dare take that off from her? You know, she's All-American, Athlete of the Year, everything. She opened the doors for ladies golf, period. And all you have to do is, Coach Waldrop would be rolling over in his grave right now if we were talking about this. And we all knew Coach Waldrop. He was there forever, and he took her to all her deals. Becky Robertson, the only woman that has won 11 out of 13 state championships who's not in the New Mexico Activities Association Hall of Fame. The only woman. If a man did that, if they won 3, they'd get in there. They won't put Becky in there because she was part of Goddard, and part of that came with Nancy and all of them, that Roswell taught them how to play golf. And my daughter was, I'm proud enough, my daughter was their caddy, Courtney, one of your gifted kids, not gifted, challenged kids, that had to fight to get her to graduate from Goddard High School. Had to go to board meetings after board meetings. I'm gonna tell you, Nancy Lopez, she did everything that you wanna do to make yourself proud of our school and our town. And Dorina and all of them, they brought golf to New Mexico, to golf to women, to Roswell, and golf to women in Roswell. And we're finally getting down to naming a school after somebody who really accomplished something. And I worked hard to get that school and the land from over there so we could put Nancy Lopez off of that highway and got it here. And, Nancy is finally getting her due and having a school named after her that's nice. She earned it with dignity and hard work and everything else with her family. I'm gonna tell you, I support Nancy Lopez, and if you change it, I will be brokenhearted because I can't believe it would happen in Roswell. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Elena Velasquez. Before I start, I'd like to come forward and give you all these quotes of Nancy. And in there also is
Use the mic.
a letter from former Mayor Bill Owen. He asked me, because he moved, he asked me if I could give those to him.
We can't hear you. Put them.
I'm very short.
You can take it out and hold it. There we go.
There.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, anyway, former Mayor of Wichita, Bill Owen, had asked me to give you those letters. I appreciate it. It was May 7th of 1991. Myself, Elena Velasquez, as vice president of the school board at the time. Diane Taylor, Louis Brady will be speaking in a bit. Oh, they're here. Linda Green and Eddie David, who have since passed, were in the board at the time. And the community came together. Is it on?
I think we're gonna get it turned up.
Okay. Boy, I'm short and can't.
And we paused your time, ma'am. Just so you know, we paused your time.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am. And while Mr. Braggs is working on that, just a quick reminder, we do have an online component for people to do online commenting. We approved that about 3 board meetings ago. It's open, it's active during our board meetings. So if anybody wanted to, if there's somebody else that's not here, they're free to get on there, and we will get that, and we'll disseminate that to the board as well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better. Thank you.
All right. Anyway, I don't know if y'all heard me. That was former Mayor Bill Owen who asked me to give you those letters too. Anyway, it was May 7th of 1991 that myself, Elena Velasquez, as vice president, Diane Taylor, who just spoke, Louis Brady, who will speak in a bit, and Linda Green and Eddie David, who have since passed. There was a lot of community unity and a lot of community effort, and to name the school that Nancy Lopez attended as a child in elementary school. She lived just like 3 blocks from the school. We have had Adan's Body Shop for 50-some years, and so Nancy's father, Sandy Lopez, had a body shop on East 2nd, so that's how we knew him, and we knew the families. And so this is something that as we saw her as a community, we saw her fight the battles and how hard it was for her to be, and she never gave up. And all of that she had to do to be able to get to even play high school, which y'all are probably familiar with. But then she went on and on and on to become national and international Hall of Famer. And in my home, we watch the Golf Channel a lot, my husband. And so we still see her on TV, we still see her on TV. But the thing is that when we did this, it was because there was such an interest in the community to support her and to have seen what she went through to be able to make it. And she's always been very, very humble about the whole thing. Even when I spoke to her about naming the school after her, very humble. And she just has such a kind spirit about her. And I would like to say that about the schools being named, or rather the schools that have not been asked to be changed their names. Missouri Avenue, for instance, it's not even on Missouri Avenue Street anymore. But this is the thing I need to say. This is the first step towards stripping the Nancy Lopez name from this school that she attended. This is the first step that will catastrophically divide this city. If it isn't stopped tonight, the news will go out nationally and internationally. I just ask y'all to please, please. This is something that's so supported by the community. Please support us as a community and do not allow this to go any further. Thank you so much.
Next.
Here she is, and here she comes. I am Berta Reyes, 600 Trailing Heart Road. Don't you make me laugh. And Nancy Lopez was my last assignment before I retired. So I am happily retired with a very disenchanted heart. Nancy Lopez has my heart. The community, the parents, the students, what a great model she is. And to come to propose a name change, what is this? America, throw away, it's plastic, get rid of it. No, ladies and gentlemen, history is a fact, and you cannot change it. Nancy Lopez, an original daughter of Roswell, grown, and what more? It is a product of Roswell Independent School District. What a joy, what an honor. Why change it? I had written something, so I won't forget it. So, then I forgot my glasses. Can you believe that? Okay, so it says, good evening, Mr. Law, school board, and school board members, fellow citizens of Roswell. I am a retiree from the Roswell Independent School District. The community of Nancy Lopez was my last assignment. A few days ago, I learned with a great disenchantment of the possibility of changing the name of Nancy Lopez Elementary School. And I asked myself, what is wrong with the name Nancy Lopez? Oh yeah, we are in America. The throwaway, the plastic. No, absolutely not. History must remain. Know the name of the legendary golfist from our very own community of Chihuahuita. Tulsa, Oklahoma named her our favorite daughter, and we want to change the name. But, okay. I will end with a quote from Nancy. Doubt yourself, and you will doubt everything you see. Judge yourself, and you will see judging everywhere. But if you listen to the sound of your own voice, you can raise about doubt and judgment. You can see forever. My fellow citizens, doubt not. Nancy Lopez, the golf legend made in Roswell, New Mexico, started started in the little community school that carries and honors her name for her dedication, discipline, tenacity, and her humble beginnings are our inspiration, a great role model to follow. Honor your own grown. There is no need to change for another name. And I stay true to our own homegrown girl. Long live Nancy Lopez Elementary.
Thank you.
Now we have Louis Brady.
Louis?
Mr. Brady.
I'm Louis Brady. I'm a product of the Roswell schools. I was the first Hispanic to be elected to the school board. I did 2 terms on the school board, 10 years. And one of the greatest things that I think I did was vote for Nancy to be a role model. Everybody's mentioned everything about Nancy that I would be repeating. Her father was Domingo Lopez, and he's more like a role model to me because he really took an interest in his daughter. He worked as a body shop man, and in the afternoons, in the evenings, he would go pick her up and take her to the golf course. And I wish more parents would do stuff like that and spend time like that. She is what she is probably because of her parents. She did a great job. One of the things that I voted for that I'm really proud of as a school board member was electing her as a role model for us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Frank Sanchez.
Oh, he's got to extend that.
Well, I'm going to have to pick this up. There, I think that should work. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Superintendent Luck. My name is Frank Sanchez, and I served on the committee that welcomed Nancy Lopez 34 years ago when we dedicated the school. I was on the host committee, and there was many people that were on that host committee. And, you know, like many people here, I've lived in this city for a long time, and that was one of the most unifying efforts that there has ever been in Roswell, to name that school Nancy Lopez. I'm here to oppose the action item on the survey for Nancy Lopez. While the action sounds innocent enough, the underlying assumption and goal is that there is a name change in the works. That's the perception, and that's what we think, and kind of whitewashing it by putting that it's an action item to do a survey. The survey's been done, 34 years. The school's name is Nancy Lopez Elementary, and for God's sakes, it should stay that way. For 2 generations, the name has been Nancy Lopez Elementary. The successful effort 34 years ago was a community-wide effort with broad support and a unanimous vote from the school board, and you've heard from them tonight. Most important, after giving the go-ahead, the children of the school wrote letters to Nancy asking for her permission to name the school after her. She responded enthusiastically. She would be honored. Please let me remind you, and you've heard it again, but I think it's worth repetition who Nancy Lopez is. She is a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. You just don't wake up one morning and become a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. She is considered to be one of the greats of women golfers. She attended Goddard High School and helped win 2 boys state championships. As a teenager, she brought fame to Roswell for her golf. She was raised in the east side of Roswell and attended the school that now bears her name. It goes without saying, Nancy Lopez is an icon and a living legend. She is a perfect role model for children here and from around the country. This is the reason for the school is named Nancy Lopez. It is an honor for Roswell to have school in Nancy's. Just to close, I want to share. Somebody can pass these around. This is the.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry. This is the front page article of the Roswell Daily Record 34 years ago. And it pretty much sums up what we've been saying tonight. And I hope you take time to read that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Tom Jennings? Pauline Ponce?
Mr. Peter.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Luck, my name is Pauline Ponce. I live at 4000 South Springs Loop and am a former board member. I agree with the previous speakers, so I don't need to repeat. I just want to know, what does it take for a Hispanic, nationally recognized professional golfer to remain as a name on the elementary? I would just request that you don't even do that survey. It's been that way for over 30 years. Leave the name of Nancy Lopez as it is. I request that of you. And again, please do not do that survey. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Dolores Ingram?
Good evening, President Cheney, Superintendent Luck, and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Dolores Ingram, and I am an invested stakeholder in the Chihuahuita community. Tonight, I would like to talk to you about success. Success manifests uniquely, often deeply intertwined with individual circumstances. For some, success is the profound declaration of identity and being the first in their family to graduate from high school, breaking barriers and forging a new path. For others, it's the affirmation of their role and responsibility in the daily achievement of providing for loved ones. For my students, their identity as driven and determined individuals within the Chihuahuita community is powerfully reflected in their hard work, pushing them to the top of NM Vista scores for all of RISD elementary schools. Recognizing that our students and their families are the Chihuahuita community, we seek the opportunity to celebrate these achievements, acknowledging the strength and the resilience passed down through generations. Therefore, we respectfully request that you honor the entire Chihuahuita community who have settled along the Rio Hondo by allowing neighborhood residents to participate in a survey regarding the new school building. Thank you for your consideration in providing our community with the opportunity to have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Roma Villegas?
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. President, members of the board. So I think I'm thinking on a different side of that. Everybody knows who Nancy Lopez is, so I'm going to take it a different way. So, Mr. President, you mentioned about being a respectful manner here and how we're doing this kind of decorum that we have in this area. I'm going to tell you that the purpose why we're here are in and of itself incredibly disrespectful, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. Disrespectful to our culture, disrespectful to the individuals behind me, disrespectful to our history, disrespectful for our teachers and staff, and most importantly, disrespectful for our kids over at Nancy Lopez. Okay? It would be so ridiculous if it wasn't so serious. I'm going to tell you how ridiculous this is. Everybody knows about your builds and your remodels, no changes. I'm going to offer one specific, okay, for Missouri. Anybody know what street Missouri faces? Okay, they moved it towards facing Deming. Okay, is it changed in Deming? Why not? Shouldn't you change that to Deming Elementary School? Because that's the street that it's on, right? Okay. The other thing is you should know that we have Berendo Elementary School. Anybody know what a Berendo means? Okay, it's a pronghorn. So now we have the pronghorn bobcats. All right, so change that. Did you do any remodeling? Did you do anything? Okay, so I'm going to go back to where we are, the purpose we're here. It's not because of culture. It's not because you care about our community, you don't care about our students, you don't care about the teachers, you don't respect any of that. The reason we're here because somebody decided that you want to change it because you or your family members or your spouses who work there and they don't like the name, I don't know, and I don't care, okay, because that's not the purpose. I'm just telling you, your respect means very, very little. You should know that you are, okay, the burden of proof is you. You have to prove why we should change, okay? We're not on the opposite side of that. We did that 34 years ago from these individuals behind me. I'm going to leave you with this and the reason why we should name it, okay? If you know who NM Peds is and NM Vistas, then we shouldn't be having this conversation, but I'm going to tell you anyways, okay? The grade for Berendo, 57%. The grade for Military Heights, 57.2. The grade for Nancy Lopez is 57.9. It's the highest elementary school in that grade, okay? And I'm going to leave you with a few things here. Just take me a couple seconds, I'm out. I'm going to use these words and you can do what it's for, okay? We call that unforced errors. Cut off your nose and spite your face. Step on a rake. Put your foot in your mouth and trip over your own shoelaces. All right? I'm going to tell you, I adamantly, okay, and respectfully keep the name with Nancy Lopez. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Oh, he left. The principal that was there. Mr. David.
Good evening, school board members, president, superintendent, and central staff. My name is Orlando Padilla. I'm a retired school teacher. I taught at Flora Vista before it was Nancy Lopez. Flora Vista, Nancy Lopez, for 10 years. I knew a lot of the parents there, and more important, a lot of the students. We were close, you know. You gotta be close to your students. You teachers know that, you guys know that. But anyway, when I first heard about this, I started looking into what I needed to present to you all, you know, that might be of help, so y'all would know the importance of not changing the name, okay? Anyway, I left this 2 papers for you in front of you, and on the first page is just some pictures of the ceremony, the program that was written out, And of course, the newspaper on the front page, Nancy thrilled to be a role model. And when she was there at the ceremony, she addressed the students. She didn't address the parents, she didn't address anybody but the students. That's how important it was to her, you know? And we're talking about role models here, okay? Now, we all want to be good role models, positive role models for our children, don't we? Well, man, she had it all. She knew that if she was a good role model to these students, it would help them. Anyway, some of the students wrote letters to her at home, and she answered one of them that I know of. One of the parents, Rose Gallegos, she has kept this information all these years, and she gave me the letter that her daughter had sent to Nancy. And this is the way the letter goes. Dear Nancy, hi, we are here today to celebrate your success. We are writing to you because we want you to know how proud we are of you. Now, we know we can do what we want to. We just have to try our hardest. Today is a special day for you and all you have done. The school wants to thank you for letting us use your name and put it in our school. This tribute to you is in honor of all of us. This whole school has always waited for you to come for so long for all of us. We are very excited and happy to meet you, and we will all know we want this school to be named after you. Cristina Gallegos is a school teacher today in Albuquerque School District. And she must have had a good positive role model because she's doing well. She wanted me to read this for you. I believe that it's very important that the kids in Nancy Lopez community have a positive female role model who came from this community. Nancy Lopez is not only a positive female in sports, but she grew up in the same socioeconomic background and status. Cristina is adamant that hopefully you will not change the name. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine Vega, and she's Ademaris Gutierrez. We come here on behalf of Roswell High students. We're both seniors for the biliteracy seal. So we weren't accepted to take the interview, and what I was told from teachers and the principal was that it was because we had a deadline before December, which was to turn in a test, the Advent test. We were given the Advent test after December, so we didn't even know that there was a deadline to turn in the Advent test. We both passed the Advent test, and I never took 4 years of Spanish class, so I had to do the portfolio in order to get my bilingual seal. I did all the steps that I was supposed to do in order to get the interview, but I wasn't allowed to do the interview. The bilingual seal is really important to me because I know it can open doors for me in the future, and I know that the bilingual seal is important for her as well, because as Hispanic kids, we've been speaking Spanish, and we learned the language English in school. We've been speaking both languages, and I feel like that's a really successful thing to do, because a lot of people might not know 2 languages, and I know 2 languages is really important to learn and to speak. The teachers didn't give us any deadlines. The only deadline that was given to us was the portfolio, which was due on a Wednesday, and we turned it in on a Tuesday. And otherwise, the Advent test wasn't, a deadline wasn't given to us, and we still haven't been able to do our interview, and we are fighting in order for us at least to give us a chance to do our interview. If it determines now if the teachers are giving us the bilingual seal. If not, then it's at least to give us the interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
That was the other.
Now I have Anna Irby and Katie Voss. We'll ask that one of you speak, please.
Good evening, President Cheney, board members, Superintendent Luck, and Roswell ISD administrators and staff. My name is Ana Garcia Irby, and my current role is a second grade teacher at Nancy Lopez Elementary. Thank you for listening to our simple request this evening. During the past 2 years, we have been involved in the planning stages of the school rebuild for Nancy Lopez Elementary School. We have often discussed the possibility of a new school name. We simply seek approval to create and distribute a survey to our community to gauge interest in the possible renaming, rebranding, if you will, of the existing Nancy Lopez Elementary School, which is now under construction just to the north of Mesa Middle School. We have considered reverting back to the school's original name, Flora Vista, or the name Rio Hondo Elementary, in tribute to the original settlement in the school's geographical location. We have provided an article outlining the history of the area. We acknowledge that Nancy Lopez is an exceptional role model and a pioneer for young women in golf. We are happy to know that the municipal golf course is now named after her. With the exception of Goddard High School, where Nancy Lopez launched her rise to fame with the boys golf team, the schools in Roswell are named after location or geographical features. With the naming of the municipal golf course, we wonder if that is a more visible way to honor her legacy and continue awareness of her accomplishments in golf. We also understand many community members were involved in the initial efforts to change the name Flora Vista to Nancy Lopez Elementary in 1991, 34 years ago. We respect their efforts. We are simply curious about our school community's awareness and connection to the current name. If stakeholders in our school community had a choice, would they prefer the original name Flora Vista, current name Nancy Lopez Elementary, or new name Rio Hondo Elementary? Thank you for your time and attention this evening. We respectfully ask that our survey be approved to gain interest in a possible name change for the brand new school built in a brand new location. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Next.
I'm sorry, I can't read the first name. Last name is Duran. Bagel.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to speak and be heard. My name is Miguel Duran. I am a resident of Roswell, have been for many years. I retired from the state of New Mexico. And I was there when Nancy Lopez had the name change. And seeing that her name was so universally known anywhere in the United States and Mexico and Canada, these places that we know, they know us because of them. Nancy is an icon. She has always done what is right. Now, my question to you, people here standing up, sitting down, why the name change? What constitutes renaming a school that is universally known, that is a person who we all enjoyed? My father and Nancy's father were close friends, so we go back a long ways. In fact, most of the people in this room go back a long ways, one way or the other. The cost of changing and changing everything out, it's going to be what is the name? Rio Hondo? Is that correct? Is that the name that you guys want to put on it? Well, that doesn't make sense. Sure, do it. But remember, whose idea was this? Why? Why did it gain traction, and why are we here tonight? That is because somebody wanted to see what's going on. We want to know what is going on. And who are the prime movers of this behind the scenes? Who wants to have it done and why? What has Nancy done, or Nancy Lopez School, or teachers, or children, or family? What have they done to constitute you people wanting to change? Change is not good all the time. Change is good when it's good. And this is not one of those times. You know what? I have here some of the things that I wrote down. I won't go into them because I want to make it quick.
30 seconds.
To you all, don't forget that you were elected by the people behind me. And you can be unelected just as well. And I'm sure if something is to get into here and enough people get really up for this, we will have a new board. I'm not saying that you will. I'm not saying that you won't continue to have your place. But when the elections come, you can be the ones. Don't forget, you were elected, and now you can be unelected. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, President Cheney, and especially the Superintendent, Brian Luck. My name is Reese Smokey. It's actually Reese Alvarez Smokey. And the reason I put the Alvarez in there is because my family's been here in Roswell since 1926. The people that you know back here, I deserve a lot of, I thank them for the success that I've had in my life since my instructor, like Mr. Brady. And a lot of these past board members that you've heard, they've come before you and set ground so that Roswell Independent School District would be a better school district. Now we're going in reverse. We're going back in time. Do you know what Nancy Lopez endured when she was an amateur golfer? Do you know that she wasn't allowed to play at one of our golf courses here because she was Hispanic, because she was a Mexican, because she was a greaser, because she was a wetback, or she was a Mexican BIT? Yeah, she was called that. That's all the things that she went through that you don't know that she endured. And a lot of us back here, and I'm a half-breed. I'm half Anglo, I'm half Hispanic. But I was called that at Valley View every day and got in a fight every day because of the racial slurs. We need to end this. We need to mature. We need to enhance and take somebody like Nancy Lopez that's been successful, not only in Roswell, New Mexico, but the United States. How many times has she represented the U.S., you know, as one of the top athletes that she's won, you know, with her other colleagues for the United States of America? Come on, people, wake up. Our young kids that live in Chihuahua there, hey, that's the poorest part of town. They need somebody to look to, especially young women. You know, when I taught for the school district, one of the things I used to tell, you can be anything. You can be a business owner like me. Respect women, treat women, open the doors for them. That's what I used to teach. We don't have no respect for women. Are we the Taliban? Are we going back in time? No. If you lived in El Paso, Texas, you would see Lee Trevino Boulevard. You would see Lee Trevino Golf Course. You would see a lot of things out there. And yet, we want to put Nancy Lopez down for all the accomplishments. But her biggest success, and let me leave you with this, board members, she overcame prejudice. That's her success. She made it. That's her success. Let it be carried on in Chihuahua. And one last thing. Have you gone to the PTA at Nancy Lopez and ask those parents if they want a name change. Have you asked those children, do they want a name change? That's what I implore. That's what you should be doing first instead of coming up with a name change now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I'm not that short or that tall either. Okay, thank you. Members of the board, superintendent, administrators, and friends. I'm so happy to be here addressing this issue. Happy because I get to express my opinion and I get to tell you how I feel about this. Let me see. I guess if we can change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, now we can go with Nancy Lopez to something else. I'm just going to leave you with that. And I'm going to read a few notes that I wrote. Okay, I'm here because I heard that there was a proposal to change the name of Nancy Lopez Elementary School. I don't know to what, and it really doesn't matter. I'm here because I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong for the following reasons. Nancy Lopez Elementary is situated at the heart of the Chihuahuita neighborhood. Many generations of our students have paraded through Nancy Lopez Elementary School. They have memories here. It's part of their history. And you want to erase history, you can't. History doesn't go backwards, it goes forward. Nancy Lopez is a symbol of success to our community. I had a lot of notes on what Nancy Lopez did, and I don't think I need to read them because everybody has said everything else already. So I'm just going to continue with what I have to say. So I ask, why remove her name from our school? Why do you want to take her away? Why do you want to take away our symbol of hard work and success? On the contrary, her life and accomplishments should be an essential part of the required reading in our schools. Why don't you look beyond the color of the skin and concentrate on our feelings as a community? And my last thing that I want to say is, Viva Nancy Lopez.
Thank you. All right. That will conclude our time of general comments. Thank you all for speaking. We do appreciate the comments. Next up, we're going to, since we adopted the agenda with flexibility, we're going to move up a couple action items. So our first action item that we're going to go to is GHS FFA out-of-state travel to El Reno, Oklahoma, April 28th through May 2nd, 2025.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the GHS FFA out-of-state travel to El Reno, Oklahoma on April the 28th through May the 2nd of 2025. And I believe they are here to tell you all about it.
My name is Jake Wagner. I'm from Goddard FFA. I serve as the treasurer on our chapter officer team, and I also participate in homesite evaluation. And we recently went to state judging in Las Cruces, and we accomplished our goal of being able to attend nationals. We got fourth place, high team at state, and I also accomplished fourth place high individual. We're requesting that you give us permission to go to El Reno, Oklahoma to compete at the national level. Anybody else want to say anything? That's it.
Fantastic. Any questions from the board?
No questions.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Ashby.
I'll second.
Second made by Mr. Edwards. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Congratulations.
Don't go anywhere. Yeah, don't go anywhere. Y'all are up next too.
All right. Now we have the GHS FFA out-of-state travel to Indianapolis, Indiana, October 28th through November 1st, 2025.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board. I recommend approval of the Goddard High School FFA out-of-state travel to Indianapolis, Indiana, October 28th through November 1st of 2025. And I know they're fixing to talk about this one.
Hello, members of the board. I'm Aubrey Prince. I'm the president this year of our chapter, and I would just like to ask for permission for our students to go. I've been, and I've had a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot, and I actually, we walked around and we were able to look at colleges there, so it is educational. It's not just for fun. Yeah, so I won't go, but these members that are able to go have put in 2 years of a CDE, 2 years of an LD, and 2 years of an SAE, which is their supervised agriculture experience, which is what you see at the fair would be showing, or ag mechanics or something like that. Our LDs are leadership development events, which would be public speaking like this, or our career development events, which is what we just finished, which is our judging season. So please let them go.
Any questions on this? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Edwards, seconded made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion has carried. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck. And now we're going to move to the 2024-2025 Notice of Intent to Issue General Obligation Bonds, Notice of Sale, and Delegation of Authority to Award the Bonds.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2024-2025 Notice of Intent to issue general obligation bonds, notice of sale, and delegation of authority to award the bonds. And our representative is back with us tonight to tell you a little bit more about that. And I'll be placing a requisition for a new mic stand before the next meeting.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Luck, Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. So what you have before you is a resolution that's authorizing the sale of bonds that voters approved in November of 2023. This is the first issuance of those bonds. The amount would be $9 million. The sale of these bonds will take place in middle of May. It'll be a public sale, so investment banking firms from all across the country can bid on your bonds, and you're delegating to the superintendent or the assistant superintendent of finance to award the sale to the lowest bidder of those bonds. The sale of these bonds, which is in the amount of $9 million, will continue to maintain the district's debt service tax rate that it has had in place for a very long time of $5.63. Subject to a successful sale, the bonds will close at the beginning of June, and that's when funds will be available for the district to expend on the projects. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
When did you say?
So the closing will be on or about June 4th. The sale is expected to take place on May 14th. So what's the risk and reward on selling these bonds? What do we gain out of that? So getting out, initially you're getting money to provide funds for critical infrastructure and school projects. It's also selling bonds that voters approved in November of 2023. Schools cannot issue general obligation bonds without expressly getting voters' consent on issuing those bonds, and this would be the first issuance of those. Once voters have authorized the issuance of bonds, district has 4 years to sell those bonds, and we're now 2 years into that first cycle. We anticipate the next issuance to be in 2 years from now, and then go back to voters for additional authorization in November of 2027.
So if I may, Mr. President, members of the board, this is just our continuation of how we fund our construction projects. So we've been very diligent with the taxpayer dollars. They've been very generous to us, and we've been able to do great things with that money, and we're just looking for the continuance of it, and this is part of that process that Eric is talking about tonight.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. French,
Second.
second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Thank you.
Very much.
Do we want to go to informational items now?
That's up to you, sir.
Okay. Let's go back to informational items.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board. Up first, just a quick update on project-based learning. Ms. Cole, if you want to take it over on that part.
Good evening, President Cheney, Superintendent Luck, members of the board. This evening, we have Zach Riffle with us. Zach works for SREB, Southern Regional Education Board. I've talked about them before. So he has been working with us for 2 years now, 3 years, already 3 years. Wow, time flies. He works with cohorts of teachers in our secondary schools on project-based learning. And so he is the expert in that area, and he has brought a team with him. So I'm going to ask Zach if you all would come up to speak to the board about what you do. All the way from New York, I believe.
Sometimes. This time I came from Florida.
Oh, okay.
Is there in New York, Texas? All right, well, good evening. Thank you for having me. I should actually say that in general because it's been great to come to Roswell. This is the first time getting to address the board, but I've been here many times to get to work with many teachers. She was talking about work with different cohorts from time to time, and specifically working with project-based learning to help our teachers work around different ways to get the information, the skills your students are going to need to go out in the real world and be successful. And you just heard from your FFA students, they're already out there doing that. We saw an award ceremony earlier with Skills USA. So a lot of these real world skills we can bring into any classroom if we use project-based learning, and that's really what we've been doing. And I could tell you about it, and I could go through a spiel, but I don't need to because we have two of your very great teachers here with me. We have Alex and Stacy. We have high school and middle school, so you get to hear that it does work at both places. It kind of feel weird just throwing them at the microphone though right now. So I will just say it's that we have worked over the course of this year. We have done several PD days. We've done some coaching days where I get to go in and watch what they've done, get to see what they're doing. And so I'm going to kind of prompt them to talk about specifically, so I know Stacy's tried something new. She has done a project, it's the vermiculture project, I believe, but you've twisted that with your PBL to try to make it apply to other things outside of school. And Alice, of course, works with drones a lot, which you'd already done anyway before the PBL, but we're just trying to put a spin on it, a little bit of polish. So I would like, if you would, again, I'm just throwing you out here, but please talk about what PBL has done for you, especially in that project. And we will lower this, I guess, a little bit for you. Is that too low now? All right, there we go, we'll get it.
Okay, I'm Mrs. Dietrich. I work at Mesa Middle School, and I'm a first-year ag teacher. We also have an FFA program, and so I use the project-based learning with my FFA kids. And so what we did is we did a vermiculture project with live worms. And so what I did is I had them, each group had a different set of worms, and we simulated it as if they were on a cattle ranch. And so they learned about nutrition. We weighed the worms each week to see if they were growing, getting bigger. And granted, everything we did, we tied it back to the agricultural part because, as you know, we can't keep cattle in the classroom. One of the things that the students learned is we still have the worms, so they come in every day. That's the first thing they go to is they check on their worms. They learned how to use the probe to check for temperature, moisture. If there was any differences, they added the water to them. They learned that worms eat 1/3 their weight in food a day, and so they had to adjust and accommodate for the food. They had to figure out, one has 30 worms, one has 20 worms, and so they kind of had to figure out the weekly ration for the food. The one thing that I found with the project-based learning at the middle school level is the kids have I'm the facilitator, they have the control, okay? And what that means is if there's a problem, they work it out together. If they get stuck on something, I help them, I guide them, but ultimately that project becomes theirs. And so they kind of take it over, and then they show accountability, they have collaboration with each other, they're figuring out problem solving. They're talking to each other about, well, this is going to work this way, and then they're going, well, this didn't work for our group, what did you guys do? And so the project-based learning is a really good thing, and it's a positive experience for the students.
Hello, I'm Mr. Chamberlain. I teach mathematics, engineering basics, and aviation science and drones over at Goddard High School. I'm a new teacher, but I understand the value of teaching unique experiences in the classroom that can adapt to the different students' learning profiles, whether it's aptitude or interest. With projects, you're allowed to hit all of those categories with several students and integrate leadership. So through Dr. Riffle's help here, it's been fantastic being able to see how I can transform the kind of Mesa engineering class that I grew up with in high school myself and transitioning that into let's focus on projects a little bit more so that more students can be involved, and it's working. So far, with the drone class especially, I don't teach that class. I give them the resources and supervise. They teach themselves. They have the interest, I give them the power, and with projects, they teamwork. They figure out what they can and can't do, and it's just workspace skills. So it works in with skills, and so far, now we're going to nationals with drones. So it's showing that no matter what the kids want to do, whatever they're capable of doing, you give them a project, they're going to find where they're best. And when you give them the challenge of teamwork, they tend to come together more than they drive each other apart. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. Riffle, and I hope you guys keep him here because not only do I enjoy him, which is rare for PDs, but I definitely enjoy the content, and I think the kids do too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you guys have any questions for us? Anything we can clarify? You're getting ready.
Yeah, not necessarily questions, but I am very, very happy to see this going on, especially in the middle school level and things like that, because that's where we grab kids and we grab them and we just start that fire of technologies and FFA and agriculture. And I really, hats off to you guys. You guys are doing a great job. And earthworms, I would love to come check that out because I actually just got into earthworms last week about a homesteader that raises earthworms, and he's got it scientifically done, just kind of like you're doing it. And he moves them around, and it just like his garden flourishes from it. Plus, he's a survivalist, so he could always eat them if he needs to. But anyway, I thought it was very interesting. I think you guys are doing a good job, and thank you, sir, for your support with these teachers.
Okay, and I will say that we are planning on contracting with Zach again next year, so we'll have a new cohort of teachers coming in. So thank you all very much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. President, members of the board, up next. We had a couple requests for some different things about what's going on. So one of them was our summer plans. And I know that there was some of that was in the board report that came out of CNI. Just a reminder that we are not going to offer a district-wide summer school program this year. We mentioned that back in December so that everybody could kind of make their plans with that. We were very fortunate, and we will have a summer literacy program. And Ms. Steinhardt is here. I don't know if she wishes to speak a little bit about that. I put her on the spot, but I promise you she's never at a loss to speak about that. But as far as that's really one of the main places that we're looking at is as far as our development with our kiddos this summer. So Ms. Cole, if you want to take some other things on that too.
I will just say that for secondary summer school, the dates are June 2nd through June 20th. Summer school for the high schools will be at each high school, and middle school, same dates. We haven't decided on the location for mid-school yet. We had it at Roswell High last year, but it's credit recovery at mid-school, so those students who don't pass math or language arts will attend. We are also working on the unified application this year, that federal application. So next year we're planning on doing an enrichment program for our students that is built around heritage in this area. I actually got the idea from Santa Fe Public Schools. They have a really great mid-school heritage program, and so would kind of like to try to replicate that in this part of the state. But we have to write in the funding for that because everything that we do in the summer takes money and staff. So at the secondary level, that's what's happening. We're also, we have several professional developments happening for teachers. Those were all listed in the report that I submitted to superintendent. Lost my train of thought. I'm going to ask Ms. Steinhardt to come up to talk about elementary. Oh, yeah, we're putting together a calendar that is a community calendar because there's lots of things happening in the community. So we will be the holder of that information. So we're reaching out to different community agencies, faith-based organizations. There's some STEM camps that are happening, and we'll compile all of that information and have that ready for you, hopefully at the May board meeting.
Good evening, President Cheney, Superintendent Luck, and members of the board. We are having a legislatively paid for summer reading program for our elementary and middle school students. The enrollment is open. Our teachers and our EAs, secretaries, anyone who works for the school can apply to be a reading tutor at a ratio of 1 teacher to 8 students. That will be taking place in the morning, and we have 6 sites. Mountain View will be having the middle schools. We will bus them, any middle school students, to Mountain View. And then we have 5 elementaries, and they have neighboring elementaries that will also attend at those schools. Our district also wanted to provide some additional intensive tutoring in mathematics. And so in the afternoon, I've been provided by Mr. Sexton is allowing us to have 50 tutors to round out the day through 2:45 to actually provide some summer math tutoring intensives. So that won't be for everybody, but for 50 people, we would be able to allocate those by enrollment that we have. Those students will get lunch, they will get breakfast, and it runs from June 2nd through the 27th. And I stand for any questions.
Excuse me. I do just have a recommendation. I mean, summer school, kids that need it, right? And then summer school also for kids that want it, or no? Or
At
just
the
kids that need
secondary,
it?
it's kids that need it.
Kids that need it in the secondary?
Yes.
And so just a recommendation. We just got to do something, because obviously there's a disconnect. You know, there's a disconnect between the students that need this and why they need it, right? So make it fun. Make it fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it fun to where these kids want to wake up and it's like, oh, no, not summer school. You know, my summer's being taken away by summer school. Make it fun, because I'm telling you, it's just like taking my kids to church. They love going to church because church is fun. You know, and I think if we make it fun, as well as the rigor, and it keeps kids wanting to come back for more. And I know we've got great instructors, and I know you guys planned it out well, but just remember, we do our best to make it fun. And even if that means asking the board for a little bit budget, like, you know what I'm saying, or whatever we can do to throw some things in there. And they don't have to be big things, but things that are fun and interactive, as well as with the rigor, to where these kids, like, hey, man, I get to go to summer school today. I don't have, it's not a have to thing. It's I get to, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up on our informational items, Mr. President, members of the board, there was a request for potential dates for a summer retreat, of which maybe some of the topics could be updating the district strategic plan and or any types of board goals for the upcoming 25-26 school year. So I would ask that you check your calendars and maybe send me some blocked off dates that are no's, if you could, please. And I will start trying to put together some potential dates for everybody as a possible board retreat. Perhaps maybe June, July, depending on the wishes of the board. The sooner we could get it on the books and could get my team to working a little bit with the updates to the strategic goals, I think that kind of would align with the new year, maybe some updated goals, some new priorities as well. So be on the lookout for some dates for you, please. Up next, Mr. President, members of the board, we kind of mentioned a little bit some of the professional development dates that were laid out before you. I know one of the biggest ones that we've got going on for our district is a group that's headed to AVID training. This summer, trying to remember the exact date, Ms. Creo, AVID training in Dallas this year? San Antonio? Dallas, okay. Large group headed up to that event. Lots of smaller activities that will be occurring here within the district. There'll be probably some potential for some textbook opportunities as we have an opportunity down the road to adopt our science textbooks. But really nothing over the top as far as what we're looking at right now, just some standard stuff. Our NTO possibilities with our group that we have here, one out of curriculum and then two also out of our human resources group. So lots of standard things. If you've been a part of any of this in the past, nothing out of the ordinary, but haven't had a lot of opportunity to deny any, to be honest with you. So several of the teachers have kind of looked out, found some things that are out there, and are moving in those directions. We've touched on the summer reading program. Ms. Steinhardt just did that. Moving on next, Mr. President, members of the board, to some of the success stories from the attendance initiatives that Ms. Cole and her team have been working on. And again, that was provided as well, but we've started really tracking the attendance, and this sounds silly, but who's taking the attendance? And what are we doing with that? Are we making sure that our schools are staying up to date? It does my heart good whenever I look down there and we see, the majority of our elementary schools, let me fix that. All of our elementary schools are in the 95% attendance taking for the day. That's huge. From the high school level and the secondary level, that's a little harder because of some of the specialty classes and they may not meet every day or may not have the on-site kind of learning opportunities, but I'm going to let Mrs. Cole kind of speak to some of the other successes that we've seen with our initiative.
Thank you, Superintendent Luck, members of the board. So one of the questions that I received was, what have we found that's working? And so I guess the first thing I would like to ask is that you allow us to put a comprehensive report together at the next board meeting, because we'll be ending the fourth quarter. And so we'll be able to take a better look at the full year and the things that have happened. Principals are sending their data to us and they're talking about what's working. One thing that I've seen that works is just connecting with the parents, making those parent contacts, having conversations, sending the text. We're using the SOAR program. We're seeing lots of great results from SOAR, which is just a text message that goes to the parents, notifying them of where their student is. Ms. Hall, in particular, at University High has talked about that. University High is our school with the highest chronic absenteeism rate. And they're doing a lot of things to intervene with the students. They have a coach coming in. They're actually a priority school, and I think it would be very beneficial for you all to hear from them. They're a priority school because they are a more rigorous intervention school. Low graduation rates, high absenteeism, but one of the things that we know is that the way the graduation rates are calculated at that school, she could graduate 100% of her seniors, and they would never meet that 85% threshold because of the way it's calculated. She can explain that to you. Anyway, because they're a priority school, they got invited to a special Priority Schools Bureau meeting. They actually get invited to a lot of those. They go up about once a month to PSB meetings. This one in particular was an attendance meeting. And so they learned how to conduct what are called empathy interviews. And so I hadn't heard of that, but they are working on doing those empathy interviews. They divide their chronically absent students into 4 quadrants. And so the students that have the highest chronic absenteeism rate, they're conducting those interviews and getting some data from that. And then they'll go back next month for another training. They'll bring back some data. So I would say at this point in time, the one thing that I see from my lens that's working the best is those parent contacts. We have to get to know the families and the students and find out what the barriers are.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Glad it's looking better, right? And this is kind of coming with the whole 24 credit thing.
Okay.
Okay. this 24 credits, if a senior has the opportunity to graduate early, or a junior, or someone coming in from another state, what does that do to our attendance if someone wants to graduate early? It hurts the attendance rate, right? It hurts the attendance rate, then also hurts funding, because attendance equals funding. So are we, go ahead.
So I'm going to let Mr. Luck, Superintendent, address part of that question. So teachers take attendance every day, and so regardless of whether they graduate early, that attendance is calculated through the student information system. So that doesn't really impact us. There's some funding impact. There's also some things that we really need to be doing in the school district, and that's really having a high-quality senior year so that as students are finishing their programs of study, they're going into internships, and they're not really not in school. They're not necessarily graduating early, but they're actually going to have some work-based learning experiences that we need to work through. But Mr. Luck will talk more about that. The other thing that I thought of is Zach was just here, and so we're actually paying for that project-based learning with some of those attendance funds so that we can have that more engaging instruction, and that we can start having some capstone projects so that those are integrated. So students are earning credits through our math, language arts, those core requirements through the capstones. And Lucy at University High is going to start doing a credit recovery through capstone projects. We're going to pilot that and see how it goes. So that's another way we're addressing attendance. Superintendent, the other part.
Ms. Cole is spot on. I think one of the biggest things is if they finish their coursework and they weren't enrolled in any classes in our operating system, they wouldn't be absent. But there would be a reduction in funding. One of the things that our high school counselors work, adamantly on is when our students come from, let's say, with industry, or mom and dad moved to Roswell for a job, and we want to be as accommodating as possible to them. And not every district runs off of an 8-period day. Not every district will have the kids coming in with the number of credits that we have. So we try to do a quick analysis of where they're at so that we're not, we want to make sure that we're good neighbors too whenever that comes up. I think one of the things that's important to note though too is and this one's going to take a while because you're going after a kiddo that traditionally will stop somewhere around their freshman to sophomore year, and not just stop because things are going great. They'll stop because things aren't going great. So if we can get our students to that junior year, there will be a benefit there, yes, but that's that really heavy push that we're working on with our SREB partners, with our instruction, with all of the work that we're doing to try to get through that area where they have that opportunity to not, and that we give them those reasons as to why they need to be there, why they would want to come. You mentioned that a minute ago with the summer school, and to see that value, and that one may take a year or two to really get that one fully off the ground, because we're going to have to come backwards to really start to see, a mid group of kids that are really being productive with that. We feel like we've got the groundwork laid for that. I'll get back to the 24 credit thing here in a minute, but again, our goal with most of this is to try to eliminate any of the barriers that we have either intentionally or unintentionally put in place for them. And then to do the very best we can to eliminate the barriers that they have that we had nothing to do with. So,
yeah, I know that we're diligently trying to reach out and get kids for attendance, and we're going to continue to work on that as a district, because we need to reach out and we need to find that disconnect, like I said earlier. But at the same time, we can't let it hinder the goals of kids that want to graduate earlier just because we might lose a little funding. If it's that parent's goal and that kid's goal to graduate early, for whatever reason, we shouldn't hinder them because we might lose funding, So I just want to say that had come up actually earlier this week, and it was kind of concerning, so.
Okay. Yes, sir. Any other questions on that? Okay. Mr. President, members of the board, up next, just a really quick assessment update from Mr. Bewley about, 10 years ago, every person in Roswell could have told you what test was being taken in any school in town. We've sort of shifted away from that, and that might not be always a good thing, but I just wanted Mr. Bewley just to roll through just real quick what we're taking right now, who's taking it and how important it is that the kids be there to take it.
Yes, be there every day. President Cheney, Superintendent-elect, members of the board, thank you. And it will be very brief. And I wanted to kind of, I really appreciate using the word assessment. We talk about that, not to use the word testing, because we're assessing learning, we're assessing teaching. I kind of want to tie in everything together because I was speaking to Principal Ingram, and she was telling me everybody showed up. We started our testing today, everyone, 100%. And one of our speakers spoke about their scores and their rapid growth, and so all of that kind of ties together. And our attendance, I don't know if you've heard the commercials and seen the billboards, be here to get here. Mm-hmm. So it all kind of ties together. And how do we assess our learning is what we're doing right now. So right now we're doing the ESSA-related assessments, the ones that we're required to do every year for the federal government. And so third through fifth and 6th through 8th are doing math and reading at the middle schools and the elementary schools. And starting just today, the high schools have to do SAT, which is again math and reading. That's the one that they take in 11th grade. Although here we take it in 10th grade, we take it in October of their 11th grade year, and then their final one is the one they take this month. We just finished up with our science testing, and you heard one more that was just mentioned for the biliteracy seal, the Avant testing. We finished that up in February, so that's for our bilingual program. So lots going on. And then once we hit May, then we hit the end of the year assessments of iStation and IMASA. So it's just run downhill from here. But I do stand for any questions.
Key point, be in school. Yes, please. All right. Just a quick update. So we're going to bring back a little bit of the strategic plan updates and/or picking different strategic plan numbers to go over with the board. One of the questions that was asked of me the other day by a board member was, is our strategic plan, how is our strategic plan driving, for lack of a better word, the budget? You know, are we spending our money really where we say that we were putting our focus? And I was working on a presentation for that, and then Mr. Sexton just pretty much saved my bacon the other day with his presentation of the budget that he did to the budget committee the other day. $118.9 million for the 24-25 operational budget for the Roswell schools. Of that, roughly a little bit over 90% of those operational funds are spent on salaries and benefits, which have a direct impact on our students in the classrooms. So if I go back to the strategic plan and we're looking at roughly 7-8 goals, of those 7 goals, every one of those has something to do with an individual that's impacting a student, either in the classroom, because of the building, etc. So 4.7 million of our dollars are being spent on utilities and insurance, with 2.6 million of our dollars being spent on professional development and travel for our people to get to that. Our instructional costs, which impact student learning directly, went from $59 million in fiscal year 22 to over $74 million in fiscal year 25, showing some very strong investment in classroom instruction. Some other support services like admin, health, counseling, maintenance, and operations have also increased from 34.8 to 45.2 million. Some of that may be seen as could be seen, on the surface as maybe some administrative cost, but the big one that jumped out to me was health, counseling, and maintenance. Continuing to keep our facilities intact and trying to. I don't have the exact one right in front of me, but it was a counselor or a social worker at every building. That would be goal 2. Ensure every school has a full-time counselor or social worker at those buildings. So we're working on making sure that we're pulling that off. Roughly 64.1% of our budget is spent with our teachers. And I think that's a huge testament to the board's vision. And keeping with that, I don't see a reason for that to deviate too terribly much from that. 10.9% of the budget to nurses, social workers, and counselors. Teachers support services, 2.6% of the budget. Operational maintenance, plant facilities, et cetera, grounds and maintenance is 10.2%. One of the things that I am proud of, it might not feel like it, but at first, but fiscal year 22, we had 624 instructional staff. And as that number has increased to 24, which fiscal year 24, which is 679 instructional staff. So we've put more bodies back in classrooms. We've eliminated the classrooms that are split, where we have double grades inside a classroom, a 4-5 combo kind of a class. We've gotten rid of that. Our support staff, our principals, our secretaries, our nurses, counselors, custodians, tech staff, we're well over, a little bit over, 356 members, up from about 351. So we haven't, exploded in those areas, trying to keep our dollars where they need to be. And then probably the biggest one, as far as putting our money where our mouth is our staff and our teachers are roughly about $13,600 over the state minimum for level 1 staff. Level 2 staff make around $11,400 more. Level 3 teachers, it's roughly $11,600. And what we found right now is, well, now it's kind of a tough time because it's transitioning area with our retirements and our moving. But give or take December, we had one of the lowest vacancy rates for certified staff that we've had in our district since I've been here. We're going to continue to make sure that our dollars are driven by the strategic plan, and look forward to, like I said, a potential board retreat where we could maybe do some updating and some adjustments where necessary. I stand for questions on that one.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes,
So when we budget for teacher salary, for instance,
okay.
Now, is that budget set up for a certain head count? Are we creating that budget after we know our head count? And is that budget allow us to hire more teachers even at full capacity to help us with the teacher-student ratio?
We will take a look at our projected ratios. The state will also give us their set of projected ratios, and Mr. Sexton and the team will go to work to try to put a budget together that is going to be able to do just what you said. Be flexible with the numbers that we have, be flexible with the numbers that we don't have, and be flexible with the numbers that could possibly get there. And I know it sounds like a great, boy, Brian doesn't really want to answer that question, and that's not the case. We have some room within that. Obviously, if we do not have the bodies in the seats, we will not receive the funding from the state. So it would be fiscally irresponsible for us to overextend if we don't have the kiddos there. So we will more than likely, every budget that I've ever been a part of is you're shooting for the under a little bit with the hopes that the kids do show up and that you have that ability to hire when we do see the kiddos there in the classrooms. Yes, please, Mr. Mott.
These are how many students you have. This is how many staff you would take a look at. Like Mr. Lynn said, last year what we did, our goal was to go ahead and get rid of the combined classes. So some of our teacher to student ratios kind of dropped. They were a little lower, but I think we've seen a lot of success with that. I see Laura smiling.
Yeah, I see her too.
So it's not just anything irrational. There's a big process involved. Starts with the ratios inside the classroom, with the needs from the classrooms themselves. Some schools need a little bit more support than others. So it's a long process. It's not necessarily saying we're going to get so much money here. This is how much we're allocating towards staff, as opposed to this is how much money we are getting. How can we best use that money to help support the teachers at the classroom? So I hope that helps.
It does. And then the only other thing that I wanted to bring up is that do we have teachers that are in the district that don't have their licensing getting paid the same amount as teachers that got their licensing?
Okay, could you be a little bit more specific on this?
Well, creative learning. do we have unlicensed teachers that are getting paid the same as licensed teachers? When, you know, like, what salary, I mean, we've got our tiers for licensed teachers, the second, the third tier, right? Do we have anybody in the district right now that isn't licensed teacher that's getting paid as much as licensed teachers that are teaching?
So inside the district, what it is the licensing is actually a purview of the state. So the state issues out those licenses, whether it's level 1, 2, or 3.
Correct.
You cannot teach without a license. That's one of the requirements that we have. So what happens if a teacher does not meet the requirements for that license is that they get put on a sub-status until they go ahead and give those requirements to the state in order to achieve that license. So to answer your question, I don't think we have anybody that's not licensed to teach. We might have some, and whenever we do a state audit, or whenever the state does an audit with us to see who's not qualified to teach a certain area, let's say that somebody that's highly qualified in language arts is teaching a math class, well, they have a license, but they're not teaching with their endorsement or whatever their specialization is. So we do have those on occasion, but they're all licensed teachers.
Mr. French, members of the board, if I can, if I can get with you afterwards, if there's a direct question, I'd be more than happy to try to answer that.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Does RISD conduct an analysis principals every year of their teacher to student ratio?
Yes, sir.
So and I just want to, as I'm running the numbers through my head, I think you said we increased from 624 to 679, which is 55 additional instructors, which puts us, if I have it right, if we're running at around 9,500 students, about a 1 teacher to 13 student ratio across the district.
So remember, though, that some of my teachers cannot teach as many as others, and some can teach more than others. So if what is asked is a direct correlation between, what we'd have to do is take like an elementary school and say, okay, what does that PTR look like for this elementary school? And then you'd have to work that on the way up through the rest of those different places. One of the things that you also run into at the secondary level is some of your specialty areas, where you may not have 30 kids in the class. You may have 12. And that's one of the things that Mr. Mata does with the PTR meetings with the principals is, okay, is this the best use for this FTE? I show that you have 12 kids in, let me back that down, because this one really did happen. You have 8 kids in AP Calculus 2. Is that the best use for that teacher, knowing I can kill this class and I just killed the ability for us to offer basically a 5th year of math? So you run into some oddities like that. You also run into some other areas where we may have, depending on, again, programmatic needs, that you may have more particular FTEs in a particular area, again, more specifically at the high school level than it would be at the elementary level. So it's not as simple as just going 1-to-1.
Sure. Is the target number for the district 679? Is your TO, your table of organization, filled with that number based on the needs right now?
That's a good question. I would say probably yes, as far as that's concerned. I think we've got room within the structure that we've got to absorb some more kids without having to immediately jump to additional FTEs. But again, we would have to look if I had a group that trying to think of a specialty area.
Sure.
And I don't want to go to special education because everybody kind of cringes in some ways when I say that. But if I had a specialty group that I had to recover more because I went one more student over, a lot of our elementary schools are capped. You can't have any more than this in those rooms. The high schools, your English classes, you're capped. So it could be as simple as 2 more students showed up in this particular grade level and I had to hire a full other teacher, and now I have 2 really small classrooms. But then, and our principals are phenomenal, and I mean that whenever we start these meetings, they have already looked at their numbers. And if they start to see an inadequacy or an overage, they're walking in with a plan. I need to, these 2 classes right here I can combine, and I want to break that person down into this grade level. I'm going to move that person so that we're not looking at any type of a reduction in force, but they're also trying to put the exact number of teachers with the kids.
Okay. I guess my concern is just ensuring that the school district does an analysis, again, accountable to the taxpayers here in Roswell. I want to ensure that every school, again, as programs sometimes wane or become
Yes, sir.
antiquated, does the district look every
Yes, sir.
year at those teachers and ensure that they're best utilized?
Yes, sir. And a lot of that is I don't really, voting by walking, especially at the elective areas at the high schools. As those numbers start to decrease, we start to look to reconfigure what, if we're not signing up for this class, why not, and what else can you help us with, kind of a class, and then what else would they be looking for to go into?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Okay. Quick construction update. If you have been by New Nancy Lopez, you can actually see all three phases coming together right now. We've got the northwest end that is starting to take shape with the skeleton, the structure there, and then if you work your way on back to the southeast, we've actually got some plywood and some more stable materials that are going up around that building, and we're super excited for that. So that's my primary one right now. I visited with Jeremy. I've got another one in my superintendent's report about DeBrenham that I want to wait until there because it's not listed up here. But really excited about the work they're doing. No major delays, no major setbacks, even though we've had some seriously windy days. But as far as construction goes, right on track. So really excited about that. All right. We've kind of touched base real quick, Mr. President, members of the board, of our remainder of the year priorities. Mr. Bewley gave you just a brief overview of the state testing that we're working on and the end of the year testing that we're working on. And for us, again, the big one is get our kids passed up or get them through those. And we got a lot of things coming. I'm going to tie that in with some graduation information, which is the next item on the agenda. We are not that far away, guys, from graduation season. A change in the number that was listed on your superintendent's report. The early college graduation that's listed for 8 o'clock is 9 o'clock in the morning on that Saturday. So we will graduate University High School on May the 22nd at 6 p.m. We'll graduate Roswell High School May the 23rd at 7 p.m. Early College High School May 24th at 9 a.m. And then we'll wrap up this year with Goddard High School on May 24th at 7 p.m. and all of that at the Wool. And we'll be sending out the specifics of where and when to show up, but I did not want to not start with that for you guys. We've got a lot of end of the year celebrations. You've got kindergarten graduations and 5th grade graduations. We have our Pueblo Auditorium back with us, so I'm looking forward to seeing the kids back over here and the families come in and do those. Would ask that people as they move into or they come into the schools for these deals, just be respectful of the staff. Our goal is your student safety. So if we're asked to show an ID or tell us who you are, please. It's not a personal thing. We just want to keep our kids safe. Again, we're starting to transition as far as looking at our goals. The obviously strategic plan kind of getting a little bit of a one-over. It actually goes from 2022 to 2027. So we've got a good document that we can manipulate a little bit to fit the needs that we have right now. So any questions on those last two agenda items?
All right.
There you go.
Next up, we have approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the minutes of the March 11th, 2025 regular meeting.
Any discussion? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ashby, second made by Mr. French. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the motion has carried. On now to the consent agenda.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent agenda to include April and March bill, approve March bills, authorize April bills, and approve April bars.
Any comments, discussion? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Sanchez,
Second.
Second made by Mr. French. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, and the motion has carried. We'll now continue with our action items. Moving on to potential community input survey for Nancy Lopez Elementary School name change.
Mr. Chairman, I request at this time a point of personal privilege.
Okay.
Okay. After considering the community feedback, I believe the proposal survey for the Nancy Lopez Elementary name change is not in the best interest of our students, our parents, and community. Nancy Lopez's name holds significant importance to our community, and I strongly believe we should not be considering changing. She's a woman of great distinction and national recognition. She's an exceptional role model for all of us, especially our students. Of course, everybody talked about her impressive golf career, and it shows her dedication and persistence. Changing the name would not only erase her legacy, but also deprive our school community of a powerful, positive role. And I move to table the issue indefinitely.
Let me jump in here for a little bit. First, I want to thank the community members for coming out. The school board members, thank you, ma'am, for coming out, and the mayor as well. I was going to call out different people by name. I took some notes here. But I think, for me, Mr. Orlando Padilla, that I think left, summed it up best. We should be focused on the business of teaching students. My belief is anything, and again, as an adult, I'll speak for myself, we complicate things and we take the purpose of, I think, this board and this district is to teach kids. And me, I do it myself, but I think adults, we politicize things at the detriment to kids. So I concur with Mrs. Sanchez and believe, it sounds like, unfortunately, I've never had the opportunity to meet Miss Nancy Lopez. However, I prefer that name over Military Heights over the other names. Because if I was a student in Roswell, I could look up to her and I would be honored to go to that school. Roswell is a great community. I'm an implant here. I've lived here for 2.5 years, but I am going to retire here. We love this community and the community members. I've received more phone calls in the last week than the 1.5 years I've been on the board, and every community member has asked me, please vote against it. And I concur with you, Ms. Sanchez. And I hope I get to meet Ms. Nancy Lopez one day, and I hope that we don't politicize this issue.
You know, add to that. I'd like to add to that in the fact that, you know, Ms. Taylor, thank you for sticking around. Elena, thank you for sticking around. Mr. Sanchez, thank you for sticking around. And other people that, you know, to this point. I love the passion. I love the passion. I liked hearing the words that were said about Nancy Lopez. No one can take that away. You can't erase history, right? No one's taking anything away from Nancy Lopez. Nobody. Not a single person. Nobody's got anything out against Nancy Lopez. So I just wanted to answer a couple of questions that our concerned citizens had questions about. And again, I love the passion, but at the same time, this community, I've been born and raised in Roswell. I've been here for 33 years. So it's kind of funny that 1991, Nancy Lopez, school was named after her. I was born in 1991. The same people that said that, you know, that side of town doesn't have a voice, doesn't want a survey done. The same people, this is, and I'm sorry, you know, but it was a specific generation of people that are, that take offense. This is a new generation. Nancy Lopez has a legacy. Nobody's taken that away from her. This was something that just came up that grew some legs. And who are we as a board to not give that community a voice? You heard it from people from a specific generation. But I was born and raised in Roswell, and I'll tell you what, I didn't know who Nancy Lopez was until I graduated college and came back. And I would almost seem like, you know, that community is what made Nancy Lopez who she is. Her family and her community that stood behind her. She didn't make that community. That community helped her. And at the end of the day, nobody has it out against Nancy Lopez. But I feel like if you don't give a survey and let these people who, like, for decades, the people with money and on a different side of town has made decisions for Chihuahuita. This is a chance for Chihuahuita to have their own voice heard. We heard it from some people, but what about my generation? And I'm not for it. I'm not against it. I have no dog in the fight. But I feel like if a good population of the faculty and staff at Nancy Lopez want this opportunity to get their community's voice heard, whether it changes or whether it doesn't change, and for us not to allow the people who have kids and that live in that community now, the majority of the people, to have their voice heard. I mean, and that's just it, you know. She came to Roswell when she was 8 years old. She won 48 titles. You know, I know she's got to be a good person. I've never met her either, but she started a great foundation, AIMS, right? It helps, just like that woman said earlier, it helps physically impaired kids. Last year, that foundation raised $300,000 in one golf tournament. That's great. All stayed in Florida. I know that for almost a decade now, we've tried reaching out to her, tried to get a Zoom, tried to get phone calls answered, tried to get emails answered, nothing. And that's not shade towards Nancy Lopez, but what I'm saying is the community is what made Nancy Lopez. Nancy Lopez didn't make that community. And so I think the community has the right to have a voice and an opportunity. And if the community wants it to stay Nancy Lopez, and I have a pretty good perception that it will, because some community members have stated, but at the same time, who is to know without a survey? And it's nothing against Nancy Lopez. She has a golf course named after her, rightfully so. She was a golfer. Okay, when it was brought to the board, and I don't know who didn't or did reply to the email from the teachers and the faculty and staff that sent it, but who are we to say, absolutely not, we're not going to listen to you, and we're going to throw it out the window? What board are we to not listen, not just to the people that were here, but the entire Chihuahuita community? And that's what I'm saying. I'm not for it or against it, but I'm about hearing what the people have to say. And the people have an opportunity to say what they have to say with a survey. And it was kind of weird hearing people like say, oh, you know, we want to hear our voices heard, but yet we don't want to send a survey. That makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. I think Chihuahuita deserves a survey and see what they want their new school to be. It's their school. It's not Nancy Lopez's school. It's their school. So whether it stays, I'm happy. Whether it changes, I'm happy. She has a golf course named after her. She's done great things. No one's taken that away. So, and that's just what that's just what I have to say.
Mr. French, if I may, so you made some great points. However, I think the community had an opportunity tonight to have their voices heard. And again, it's been overwhelming the last week or week and a half, the phone calls I've received, and not one person has been in favor of the survey. If we had a mixed crowd tonight, I would concur with you, and I would vote to push out the survey. But I've probably heard from no less than, again, with the community tonight, 50-plus people. And my worry for the school board and for the school district is I think we owe it to the taxpayers to stay apolitical, and this is, in my opinion, become political, and maybe it's just my perspective and it's skewed, but
people have made it that way, for sure.
Yep.
This is just, I feel like the board doing their due diligence and to hear the entire community. not the people that have enough time on a Tuesday night to come to a school board meeting because they don't have kids and anything else to do. I'm just saying. Like, the whole community needs to be heard, because the teachers that go to that school, who deal with those kids more hours of the day than the parents even do, they're the biggest contributors to that community right now. James Edwards is one of them. You know what I'm saying? You know, I just think that it'd be weird for us, not good for us, weird is not a good word, but not good for us to not send out a survey.
Sure.
Because you got faculty and staff that have nothing against Nancy Lopez, and they wouldn't care if it stayed the same either.
Sure.
It was just something that grew legs, and it was one of those things that it's like, here's an opportunity for the community, not 10 people, the community, the parents, the grandparents, to choose what they want for their community.
Sure.
And so, that's where I'm at. You know, like I want to hear everybody's voice. I want to hear that entire side of town. And if it's 90-10, stay Nancy Lopez,
Sure.
Shoot, it's our decision at the end of the day. But at the same time, even if it was a 60-40, not be Nancy Lopez, that's too close. It needs to stay Nancy Lopez. But I would say we're not doing our job to the public if we keep that side of town silent, because it's been silent and kept silent for decades.
Yeah, hey, I would argue that point and say, by bringing this up as a point of discussion, we are taking away from the students and the public to do the real work of furthering the education of the students. The fact that we're distracted here tonight talking about this, I think takes away from the students, and that's why I like what Mr. Orlando Padilla said. The focus should be on the students. And again, it has become a political issue, but I think as the board, I'm responsible for the community members and, again, to continue progressing the school district for the success of our students. And I'll leave it.
Well, I think this is just the place to start. No one was saying that it has to change, and it has to start somewhere. We have to, if we want to even talk about changing it, it has to start somewhere. And so the board making an item and making a, seeking the community's input should have started from the board. So this is the rightful place to start this conversation. And that's why this item was put on our agenda tonight.
I second Mrs. Silva's motion.
With a motion and a second to table, do you want an opportunity to discuss?
Call for the
Okay.
vote.
Then we have a call for the vote. Can we get a roll call?
Jack Cheney,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Pass right now. I'm gonna pass.
The motion is to table, and the second is to table.
So you're voting yes to table?
I'm voting yes to table.
It's all said and done.
So it's all said and done?
Yes. That's my vote.
Brian French,
No.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Jared Ashby,
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion to table, and we'll move on. Next up, we have the 2024-2025 Student Transportation Service Contract Adjustment.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2024-2025 Student Transportation Service Contract Adjustment. And I have Ms. Charlie Merchant here to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Luck, President Cheney, and the members of the board. This is a replacement of the 12-year buses that have reached their life cycle. So they've gotten their new 2 buses in, so we need to amend their contract.
If I may, Mr. President, members of the board, this is with Hamel Transportation. There's nothing with these 2 buses that had anything to do with the flood that happened this just time. It's regular business as usual.
Correct.
So a lot of these buses that are for special needs students, are the prices have gone up and those also?
These 2 particular buses are just for regular transportation.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Sanchez, second made by Mr. Ashby. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion has carried. Next up, we have a policy. Policy I-7350, IKF, graduation requirements, first reading.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board, this is the first reading of policy I-7350, IKF, graduation requirements. Basically, what this does, and I do need to make an amendment to this, what's in your book right now. Basically, from the implementation of the block schedule, roughly 17 years ago, we had set graduation requirements for the high schools at 28 credits. And the intent there was to ensure that we had our kids actively engaged throughout the full course of their time there at the two high schools. You did it. I taught on it. I principled on it. And what we've found over the last few years, and we've had a lot of the counselors really advocate for this, is that that the potential for those 4 extra classes might be causing some of our students to stop and to kind of see the math problem ahead of them and go, we don't want to do this. So what we're coming to you with in this policy is simply going from the Roswell Independent School District implemented 28 credits to the state requirement, which is 24 credits to graduate. There is an amendment or a change. It would say 9th grade class of, it would need to go backwards. There's a potential that we could implement this even as early as next year. We met with the counselors on Monday to give them just straight up question. If we went this direction, would anything with a 24 credit graduation requirement cause anything weird to happen with our valedictorian and our salutatorian again? And my counselors are working on it. The original run through with it was no. I gave them the task that they were to go back to their buildings and to relook at that, and then notify me if they came up with anything that meant that could not occur as early as next year. And I received no phone calls. I've got about 4 different people that I would say are very well versed with the high schools, trying to determine if that would be something that could hinder or cause a problem for me and the board, but primarily me. And I stand for any questions that you may have over the potential for dropping it to 24. What we were just trying to do was eliminate any of the barriers that are man-made, to quote somebody else, man-made barriers. So.
And so at the policy meeting, one of the things, like, other than, and it looks like it's not going to be a credit issue or like a valedictorian, salutatorian type issue, but we did see it open some doors for students who can get that 24 credits and then be able to now venture and take more things that they want to take. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of opens up more doors for those students.
Is this House Bill 171? No?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Not this one.
Okay.
And we'll be bringing that back.
Okay.
The pressing issue right now, because that will start with our freshmen of next year. So the pressing point to this right now was that our counselors are starting to plan out schedules for our kids for next year. And if that was something that was so chosen, which we think we can pull off, we wanted to make sure that our counselors are enrolling our kids in the right classes. Every junior that graduates should walk out the door with 24 credits underneath their belts. They will not have the required classes necessary to graduate because we won't let them take it out of sequence, i.e. English 9 comes before 10, 11, and 12, etc. And we don't let them double up on those classes. There are elective classes that we have, and/or there are some math classes that have been implemented as such. However, you'd have most, if not all of your seniors graduating with well over 24, and probably most of them would be at least 28. Stand for questions, open for any kind of discussion outside of the meeting. But we do have a policy that we're working, a policy committee that we're working on, I believe it's next week maybe. So if there's any adjustments that you're after, we could
We have
look at
to
those.
pick the date.
Is it written in policy that we're not gonna offer the classes out of order? Do we need to add that piece in?
We could look at that.
Just to help set it in policy, that
Yes, sir.
that is our policy.
I want to say it is somewhere. I can't point my fingers directly on it right now.
Okay.
Traditionally, the information is required from the last of the one right before it to get you to the beginning of the one right after it.
I
All right.
have a quick question. Can the district decide not to choose two courses to give more flexibility to students on their classwork choices?
I'm not following your question, ma'am.
Well, the statute states that 2 units set by each local board
Oh, yes,
must
ma'am.
meet department.
Yes, ma'am, and that.
Academic content.
Mrs. Cole, Mr. Bolaños, my high school group.
Okay.
We've got that, there's still some uncertainty with that.
Okay.
And we were kind of hoping we would get some more guidance from the state.
Okay.
Before we come back, because I want, especially on that one, we want to do that one time.
Okay.
We don't want to have to come back and say, we misspoke or we didn't get it correct.
And we have to
So,
redo it.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am. That one's not done yet. That's not today.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this one? Can I get a motion to approve?
Oh, First reading.
So,
Oh, first reading.
No, first reading,
First
no
reading,
motion.
never mind, okay.
No, I just brought it up.
That's right.
Just kind of a heads up. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Next one, we have policy J4461, regulation, drug use in school activities, random drug and alcohol testing. Again, this is a first reading.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, we had make sure that this is the right one. We have two versions, or two different parts to this tonight. Policy J4461, regulation, drug use in school activities, random drug and alcohol testing update. Brought a really diverse committee together, came in and had some really positive discussion. Again, didn't everybody agree? But we got to a point where we felt like what is brought before you is a mixture of a little bit of give and take. Some of the key points that are in this is on the first violation that students have the opportunity to remove 10 days from their 45-day suspension by a completion of a Roswell RISD substance abuse treatment program. Okay, in the current policy, that was offered in the second one. So the impact from the committee was, we need to start catching our kids sooner. And that if we have kids that we think have a problem, that would be the time and the place to catch them. We do not currently have a mechanism embedded with the policy that provides free help for the kids. So they can take this now at their expense and take off some time. With this in the new policy, the way it's written is, it's ours, and we're gonna pay for it. And by doing so, you would reduce 10 days of your suspension to get it down to a smaller day amount, which would give the kids a chance to be out there. Tie that with another request that came out of the meeting from our coaches, that they wanted the opportunity to see those student athletes in the middle of that. So our current policy states that students that are guilty of infraction 1 cannot participate in outside of the school day practices. So if they have a class, they can go to the class, but once the bell rings, they have to leave. Loud and clear, the coaches, we want access to those kids. We don't like that when they leave here, we don't know where they're at. We want to hook in them. So that is one of the other things that we brought into this, is that in none of the infractions except for the third one, that they don't have the opportunity to still have their student athletes at practices. On the second violation, we dropped it from 90 to 80 consecutive school days. and that the students must attend the substance abuse program at that point. At the cost of the Roswell School District, and then again, that they're still allowed to participate in their practices at that time. With the third infraction, they would be 1 full calendar year at that point in time. Another big give back was that all violations that occur in the mid-school years will be wiped clean whenever they go to the high school. So all athletes will start with a 0 infraction beginning for their 9th grade year. Our two third-time offenders, we only had 1 or 2 of those.
Never had a third time.
I thought we had one that, but that it occurred because we started that infraction at the mid-school. So they get their 2nd, 3rd at the high school level. You know, our hope is that we don't. I mean, our hope is that by implementing the help that we're trying to provide for the student athletes at that time, that they don't make a 3rd infraction. But, you know, the thought there is that mid-school kids do what mid-school kids do sometimes. And we've got some other provisions, i.e. with our academic eligibility for sports, and that we tied that kind of with this, and we're willing to concede that one a little bit as well. So stand for any questions that you have on the policy.
I have a quick question. Is there, within the policy, is there any mechanism for appeal built into the policy? And the reason I ask that is, as an example, I was in Las Vegas this weekend, and I think if I was tested right now, just based on walking on the streets, I would test positive. The unfortunate thing is many of the, I think the kids' parents, because marijuana is so common now, smoke marijuana in the vehicle with their kids, in the house with their kids. Has there been anybody that tested positive based on secondhand smoke from their parents?
Not to the best of my knowledge. If you go further into the weeds of the policy,
Sure.
it lists the cutoff points for the amount of THC that has to be in their system.
Yes, sir.
We have not encountered that.
Okay.
We have encountered a couple situations where they have appealed, and what we have tried to do is make sure that we have followed policy. So a lot of it wasn't so much that they should have been negative, it was the way, et cetera, that it occurred. And we're kind of a perfect 10 out of 10 that they come in and say ultimately that no.
Yeah. Excuse my ignorance on the THC. Again, that makes sense, the level of, I've just, unfortunately, in the community, I've been around, again, some of my son's kids even and smell marijuana
Yes,
on
sir.
their kids, knowing that, you know, their parents likely
Yes,
were
sir.
the result of that, so
Well,
thank you.
I'll get ahead of it a little bit. There was, one of the other things that was discussed was a potential for embedding, because we looked at several different policies, Mr. Trujillo, Mr. Cooper, and I mean it, I can't commend that committee enough, because it got interesting a couple times. That depending on the success rate that we have with the services that we provide, that we might even be able to embed some type of a self-reporting mechanism down the road. I want to make sure that it works. I want to make sure that we're seeing the success, but it does open the doors to kind of provide for some of those venues where the kids could come in and say, you know, this is going on, and we look at the levels, but we've pinpointed, and I think we've narrowed down the science of the way we do it. They do the test here, and then it's confirmed.
Yep.
With a little bit more sensitivity with it, and that we can actually come back and drill down to the exact level that you're positive.
And Superintendent Luck, we talked earlier about eventually every school would have a counselor. Do you see in the future, if somebody tests positive, can the school district mandate that student to sit with the counselor like once a week as kind of like a rehabilitation?
So and again, remember this, you've got a couple things that are at play here right now. We're talking about the testing of our extracurricular activities.
Yep.
And or the consequences to being found in the possession of.
Yep.
So I know Ms. Cole and her team, I met with Ms. Price about the direction that we could go.
Sure.
And obviously, if we've got the manpower, we can do a lot of things. And I think that like I said, as that builds out, I don't think it's going to get any better.
Sure.
But you know, with the help of the policy committee, I think what's brought before is a pretty decent setup.
And to kind of, another thing is too, like, so that program, so if you get popped, Ryan French gets popped, and I choose to do that program, because initially it's not mandatory, right? So, but if I do it, I get 10 days taken off of my, you know what I'm saying? And with that program, it's $0 out of pocket for them. As a district, we're providing that for them, so we are, I feel like, doing our due diligence and actually giving them a 10-day or 2-week program that they can get done within that 30 days or 40 days to be able to come back. And a couple of the things that were brought up, you know, the second time offenders, like we've never had 3, but they hardly ever have second time offenders. And so we wanted something that, you know, a lot of my friends, they wouldn't have came to school if there wasn't football. They wouldn't have came to school if there wasn't basketball, right? And so this still allows them to have an opportunity to cut that 45-day length down to 35, and then also be able to go to practice. You know what I'm saying? And keep them involved, keep them going, but I will also giving them help if they need it.
I think it's great.
Mr. Edwards?
Okay, now, so I'm looking at 4461, and then I'm looking at, and I don't.
4450.
Educate me a little bit. Is this 2 different policies?
So.
The 4450?
No, hey, I'm looking at 2 different policies. So does one supersede the other? Because one's going to be a third reading, and this is a first reading.
Correct.
And what I heard was that y'all you had this, what date did y'all meet on this policy that we're talking about, which is 4461? When did y'all meet on that? Was that the last meeting you had?
No.
Okay, because I showed up to one of the meetings, and y'all gave out a packet.
Right.
I believe you were there.
Yeah.
Mika was there, Miss Tivis, and you had your baseball coach and a few other people. And I showed up to one of the meetings. I had never seen the 4461, and it wasn't in my packet.
Right. Mr.
I
President?
thought that was the one that you attended, the first
Well,
one.
no, I have what was in my packet.
Right.
Yeah, but it was the 4550.
Yes, so I'm kind of confused, and so.
So, if I can, Mr. Edwards, 4450 is in conjunction. It doesn't supersede, but it goes in conjunction. So the intent of 4450's changes was to define the school year as interpreted as the first day of fall practice through the last day of school. So that one works in conjunction with 4461. That policy was addressed the meeting prior to the one that you attended.
Well, and all of the paperwork, which I brought tonight and I'll address later on, was from 4450.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm a bit confused, and we can talk about it later, but I'm just trying to see where this goes. I know it's a first reading, so there's no action.
Right.
So can there still be amendments made to this policy here?
Oh, yeah.
Through the policy committee, yes, sir.
Are y'all planning on meeting anytime soon?
Yes, I think it was scheduled.
Okay, because I have some concerns, and I'll pass it on to y'all since I'm not allowed to be at those meetings. So, that's all I have to say, because it's a first reading. It's not gonna go anywhere right now. But I wanna address 4450 as soon as we get to it.
Okay.
And Mr. President, if at any time, like I agreed to the 14th, the one we're having on the 14th in the morning, now at any time that I can't make a policy meeting, would I be able to say, hey, Mr. Edwards, would you take my place at the policy meeting? Or how does that go? You have to do it.
The way our committees are formed as a school board is we are mandated by the state to have a certain number of committees, and on those committees we must have 2 members of the board. Now, that doesn't stop us from having more members of the board. But what that does do is it does require a burden on the school district to then now
Post
comply with Open Meetings Act, because now we have a quorum of board members.
I understand that.
So, this is just the rules, I'm not, we're all good. We're just, if we want to have more board members at these committee meetings, we can. We just need to comply with the Open Meetings Act and provide proper prior notice and provide opportunity to all the other, and be in compliance with the law. The live streaming, the comment period, and all that other stuff.
Understood, but Mr. French asked you a question if he's unable to attend, because you have to have 2 members. And I
We
was
do have
asked
to have 2
one,
members, and I think I am listed as the alternative for either committee, as the president.
okay,
I didn't know that.
okay.
And if I am unable to make it, I think I have the power, we can check
Well, thanks for
to,
the
to ask
clarification.
other people to serve in that capacity.
Okay.
All right, ready to move on?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have the policy J4450, drug use in school activities, random drug and alcohol testing, third reading.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board, as mentioned before, again, the key change with this is that we've had some incidents that have happened, not just this year, but other years as well, where we've had student athletes that have not been technically air quote in season and have not faced any type of the consequences that their schoolmates that are in season have faced. What we tried to do right here was make it a little bit more of an equitable situation and define the broader spectrum that, and I hate to use the word no means no, but that the school year is interpreted as the first day of fall practice through the last day of school. Term constructive is defined being the company or in person. And again, this is J4450, JJIE, drug use in schools. Policy runs in tandem with our other policy, and it does list out some stuff, and there are no changes to what it's listing out there as well. Now, this one is a third reading. I believe this came back, trying to remember when this one came for the second reading, but I do believe this one is eligible for an action item and a
February,
vote
maybe?
as well.
Maybe was it the February board meeting?
Could have been.
February, March, yeah.
So, I understand for any questions on that one.
Any questions? I just want to say, the policy members were like Mr. Luck, Mr. French, Mr. Edwards served at one of our meetings. We had Coach Alvarado, Coach Cooper, we had Mr. Trujillo, and of course, we had our assistant principals, Mrs. Tivis, Mr. Sandoval, and from the CASA behavioral interventionist specialist was Kim, a parent, I believe, right? Was she serving as a parent? Rugley? Kim?
Yes.
Okay. And then, of course, in administration, we had Mr. Mata, we had Mrs. Trujillo, we had Mr. Bolaños, we had Mrs. Price, which is our behavioral intervention specialist, Mr. Bustillos. Did you serve at some point? You didn't, I thought maybe you had. And I just want to take this moment to express my gratitude to each of you for your tireless efforts in education and crafting these policies that is supporting our students' well-being and success. And I appreciate the countless hours and the days that we invested in this process. We work collaboratively to find common grounds, and then we compromised a lot, because I know we kept coming back for that one a couple of times. So I just want to thank all of you for for keeping our students' best interests at the forefront of our discussions. And I think by you working, your collective efforts, it's going to be a very positive things or impact on our students. So I thank you. I really thank you, because you're the ones out there, and the insights and the information you brought to us just made a lot of sense. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. French.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve? Or do we have more discussion still? No? Okay. Can I get a
So
motion
moved.
to approve? Motion made by Ms. Sanchez?
Oh, no. he
Oh,
was here.
was it- okay.
Then I second. Or I move. So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Ashby.
Yeah, do you have a quick question or you have concern
No, just call for the
that
vote.
you want? Okay.
Good.
Did we second it?
You can second it.
Second.
Motion made by, seconded made by Mr. French. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
The motion has carried. We'll move on to our reports.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board, fairly substantial superintendent's updates mailed out last week. Curriculum and instruction, got a lot going on. Would like to point real quick to the Brenham Stadium. Did receive notice today from facilities with the district. We are working with our insurance companies as far as seeing what they will help us with as far as covering the cost of any kind of fixing the facility and or cleaning up the facility. We think we're just about to a point where we can move forward with that. But as of right now, we don't have that answer. I know out in the public, I've been asked several times because we are the tenant, and we've made the commitment that we will clean it up. But I also think that it would behoove us greatly if we utilize the insurance that we pay dearly for to help us as far as picking up the tab to the point of not just cleaning the general facade of the area, but the potential for removing anywhere from 6 to 9 inches of turf off the main playing field. Some pretty substantial work on mediation in the restroom. But when we're done with it, we'll be ready to rock and roll, I believe. But we're very close. So if you are asked, cornered, questioned, not that I've been cornered or questioned over that, but should you be, we're pretty close to having that where we can move forward and get it ready to go again. Yes, sir.
So that we are planning to use,
As of right now, yes, sir, but not.
because I know you had the insurance folks in.
Yes, sir.
And what was the disposition of, have you had any report or anything that come back to say yes or no?
Yes.
So it's a yes?
Yes, we have the report.
So it said, is that a yes that we're gonna play?
As of right now, unless I've misread something, we believe that we will be able to move forward. They did some structural surveys on the main pieces to it. It's just getting the pieces in place to get it cleaned up.
Okay, now if we have a maintenance crew, isn't their purpose to clean up? Because I know that, I had called you because some people in the community had called me and they were like, hey, why has the school district not cleaned up the area? And that's raking leaves. We have a field over at Stiles Field, and Mr. French over here and a group of his kids, and you saw what we encountered, am I correct? It took down our whole deal. And it was a bunch of volunteers that went out there, and it was kids. It was Mr. French, it was different teams that went out there. And they took care of the field because I'm pretty sure he can vouch for it. And they put a lot of time and effort in, and it was a community effort. And it just kind of concerns me that we're leaving that stuff looking the way it looks. And that goes from the city properties to the county properties. We owe it to make sure we take care of those, at least clean them up.
Yes, sir.
You know, because it looks like a dump now. Hey, we can go in there and make a change. Hell, if I have to get some kids to go out there and pick up trash, we can do that. But we pay people to do that kind of things. And so my concern is, and I would like to see this happen sooner rather than later, because insurance is going to cover a cleanup. We have great insurance with our football league, but our insurance did not cover the cleanup of our field.
Wow.
If I can, Mr. Edwards, I just got the copy of that report today. Let me dive through it and see if I can't get a better timeline. And if it is going to be something that's going to be pushed out, let me see what they would allow us to be able to touch.
You know, you got grass in the fence.
Yes, sir.
That's something that's cosmetics.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's just kind of sad when you ride by and you see all of that trash still in there. It only takes a few minutes to go and pick it up. And I'm not blaming maintenance, but somebody's not taking care of business.
Okay.
And that's bugging me. I made a phone call to the city manager today about some stuff that has been broken. Cars running through signs and the signs are still laying on the ground. Dumpsters that are tore up. Hey, if we're gonna be an all-American city or a good city, we need to start keeping our stuff clean. I know I get out and clean my own alley up, and I called the city, and I will do the same with the county if I see stuff that's unsightly. We have to hold people accountable. And it just seems like, hey, we're taking a laissez-faire attitude of, we'll just leave it alone and somebody else will take care of it. It doesn't take much to rake up a yard. Doesn't take much to clean up a yard, pick up trash. That bugs me, and I got calls from the community way back, and I had called you about that.
Yes, sir.
And we need to get it taken care of. I rode by a dumpster, had been out there for almost 4 weeks in my neighborhood, right behind the road department. I made a call and I said, hey, look, this isn't right. Guess what? It ain't there today. I counted the days and the weeks of how long it was gonna sit there. It's not there today.
I'll get a timeline.
If I can see it, other people can see it.
Yes, sir. Like I said, I'll dig a little deeper into that and get a timeline and see where we're at as far as that goes. Have committed to the board that we would go through a few policies. With your permission, just real quick. Mr. Mata has some quick ones, and these are in order from the ones we started with.
Perfect. So the first one, Mr. President, members of the board, A-0400 Human Rights Act Protection Gender or Gender Identity states that the New Mexico Human Rights Act provides that a governmental entity, which includes local school boards, may not refuse or otherwise limit or place conditions on services provided to a person because of gender or gender identity, among other listed conditions. Next one that we have is policy A-0050, school district legal status. This states that the legally designated name of the district is the Roswell Independent School District. Pretty simple. A-0150, ABA, community involvement in education. The board recognizes that the public has substantial resources of training and experience that could be useful to schools. The strength of the local district is in large measure determined by the manner and degree to which these resources are utilized in an advisory capacity and to the degree that these resources are involved in supporting the improvement of the local education program. The advice of the public will be given careful consideration. In the evaluation of such contributions, the first concern will be for the educational program as it affects the students. The final decision may depart from this advice when in judgment of the staff and the board such advice is not consistent with goals adopted by the board, consistent with current educational practice, or within the reach of financial resources available. And finally, we have A-0200, parental involvement. Based on the philosophy of the district, it is the intent of the board that parental involvement in the district at both district and site levels be defined to the broadest possible terms. Further, it is the intent of the board under such a definition that the superintendent will, within the capabilities of the district, staff, and the financial limitations of the district at both the district and site levels, incorporate to the maximum extent possible a variety of activities, strategies, and mechanisms into the district and site structures that provide for the active involvement of, active support to, effective interaction with, and development of parents as active partners in a student support team effort that will enhance the capacity of all students to reach their optimal potential. And would you allow me to provide a quick summary of the Senate bill, Mr. Luck?
Yes, please.
So he also asked me to take a synopsis. The purpose of the bill, this act amends section 22-11-25.1 NMSA 1978 to increase the salary cap and expand the time period that retired educational employees may return to work without suspending their retirement benefits. Key changes and highlights that we have in this bill is it increases the annual salary cap from $15,000 to $25,000 for retired members returning to work without benefit suspension. It extends the return to work period from 36 months to 6 months to 5 years. General rules for returning retirees: you must wait at least 90 days after retirement before returning to work. Cannot have a formal or informal pre-arranged agreement to return before retirement. Must contribute to both the retirement and retiree health care funds, and you cannot earn youth service credit for post-retirement employment. This applies to retired members returning to employment with local administrative units, for example, school districts or public schools. And the implementation provisions modify and extend rules previously set to expire on January 1st, 2024. This bill updates those timelines and thresholds moving forward. It also gives specific examples of when, what needs to happen in order for the employee returning to work not to have his retirement benefits suspended.
Key thing for us, it bumps it from 3 years to 5 years. So I've returned to work and I'm back with the district and I can work 2 more years if and so be it in that mechanism, because it does put a limit on how long they can work. The ERB does. Yes, sir. My apologies.
Can we touch on the first policy? It was something about gender identity.
Yeah.
I will tell you what. So executive order, there's a thing called the supremacy law in the Constitution, and President Trump came out with Executive Order 14168, defending women from gender ideology, extremism, and restoring biological truth. And if the state does anything that contradicts that, I will be the first to go to the Department of Education to try to get funding removed. I don't care if it's a state policy or not. Yeah. We should not adhere to that. Again, I don't know what PED and the governor thinks. To continue to violate federal law, to include the uses of marijuana, is still a federal offense. No, I know. I'm just telling you my position as a board member here. I will fight tooth and nail, and absolutely not. If it's in my power to influence, we will not adhere to that policy, and I want to make that public.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I know that's not you. Thank you for briefing it, though. But, and again, just for the public, if I find out that we as a school district are adhering to that, I will spend the rest of my time in Roswell before I have to move to ensure that everybody is held accountable, including losing federal funding for the school district. And again, thank you for reading that, but I know it's not you.
Just for legal point of reference, adopted into NMSBA policies, March 11, 2024, the legal reference, and I'll screenshot it for you if you'd like that, was in New Mexico School Boards Association 1978. So perhaps outdated for
Sure.
current time. We're just starting at the top and reading them through.
Yep.
So if this is something that you would like to address, I can meet with you and we can move
Sure.
forward with that.
Well, hey, again, I am not going to let this one go. I'm very passionate about it, and I will be at the district every day talking about this, and then, again, to our state. This is why, though, Superintendent Luck, I want to ensure that we have a good attorney representing our school district who, again, is in alignment with the school board and doesn't have their own agenda.
Okay. Fair.
And speaking of, where are we at with the solicitation for contract for
RFP?
our attorneys? Yes, sir.
So I believe they did the initial round the other day and they have interviews scheduled for early May.
Who's going to be on that interview panel?
That interview panel will be Charlie Merchant, will be, trying to remember the rest of that committee.
Assistant Soups.
The Assistant Soups. Who else was in there with y'all? Chris Tweet. So we have, and then there was one other. Trying to remember who the other one was.
Why can't board members be on that?
I believe, I'm making an assumption here, but my belief would be that you ultimately have the we don't approve.
Sure.
Based off of the sets of scores and standards that the committee brings to you.
But normally we get a recommendation
Yes, sir.
rather than just that, we don't know anything that has transpired. We need to have a role in that. I keep hearing NMSBA, and and I'll explain. I did some research, did a lot of research over the last couple of days. I was gonna bring it up in later session. What we do is we follow NMSBA. What we did a few years ago, we had other board members that had other agendas, and we took when we talk about local control, we had our own policies that we had in place. I think y'all been in the district for a little bit. I did some research, talked to some people around town because I knew some issues were gonna come up tonight. And what they decided a few years back, probably about 10 years ago, is, hey, we're gonna do away with our stuff and we're gonna follow what NMSBA sends to us. And you know, I have my own feelings on that. We have enough independent thinkers up here, we can write our own policies and add to and take away. Because I did some checking, and it kind of bugs me because, like you said, I follow with you. That bugged me when you read that first policy.
Okay.
You know, and keep your stuff in your own house, is the way I look at it. I'm not going to come out here and say, hey, you know what, I support this and I support that. Because what you do behind your closed doors, we don't need it done in our schools. And that's just me talking. Care less what people think about me. That's the way I see it, and I agree with you, man. And we'll address some of the other issues here later on when we move down the agenda.
Superintendent Luck, will you look into the possibility of board members being on the the interview process for the new attorney? And then likewise, what are the consequences when we do not follow potentially state policy with the PED?
Okay.
Do you know that? Because that, again, that is my plan. And I don't know what the policy says. I'm going to look tonight because now I'm fired up. But what happens right now if there is a teacher or a staff member that calls a child by their biological identity? There's no consequences, correct? Even if they want to be called the opposite.
I've not seen one yet to this year, sir. No, sir.
Perfect. Thank you.
You don't have any more policies, do you?
You know, Mr. Last, stop with that first one.
Yes, sir. Thanks again. Sorry for the.
No, I think
And that concludes the superintendent's update.
Moving on to board communication now. I do thank everyone for their input on policies, and that's one of the reasons why the policies were there. They were adopted. We moved to allowing NMSBA to manage our policies, but we are the board and we still own those policies. If there's policies that we read through that we do not understand, we do not know why they're there, it is on us to ask those questions. It's on us to make those changes that we want to see. So that is my intent in reading through our policies, is that the board is familiar with the policies that we put forth, that we live by on this board. So
Can we develop a policy that says we will not follow the gender identity policy from the PED?
Absolutely.
All right. Very well.
I think we've already done all of our informational. Any other informational updates? Anything else anyone wants to discuss? Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Education of the Roswell Independent School District will meet in executive session pursuant to NMSBA or NMSA Section 1015-1H2 regarding the following limited personnel matters where no action will be taken. Can I get a motion to go into executive session where no action will be taken?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Sanchez.
Second.
Second made by Mr. French. Can I get a roll call?
Jack Cheney?
Yes.
Joseph Sanchez?
Yes.
Brian French?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Jared Ashby?
Present.
Executive session will begin at 9:25.